Hi everyone, and welcome back to Conquering Math, where it all adds up. In this video, I'll be walking you through the solutions to the independent practice problems for the adding negative integers lesson. If you haven't watched the lesson video yet, why don't you go do that and come back to this video when you're ready. Alright, let's get started. Independent practice problem number 1. Find the sum of negative 6 plus 11. Alright, so let's take a look at this problem. The first thing that we notice is that the two numbers have different signs. We have negative 6 and positive 11. When the signs don't match, we need to find the absolute values of each numbers, and then we actually need to subtract them from each other. So the absolute value of negative 6 is 6, and the absolute value of 11 is 11. 11 minus 6 is 5. Now remember, we have to stop and think. Which number had the greater absolute value? In this case, it was 11. And since that was a positive number, our answer should be positive. So negative 6 plus 11 equals 5. Now let's take a look at our next problem. Now you need to find the sum of negative 9 plus negative 13. Okay, so if we stop and take a look at these two numbers for a second, you might notice that both of them have a negative sign in front of them. So what that means is, since the signs are matching, we're going to find the absolute values and then add those together. So the absolute value of negative 9 is 9, and the absolute value of negative 13 is 13. 9 plus 13 is 22. Now, here's the thing. What we need to do is we need to go and look at the original sign of the numbers. They were both negative, so that means that our final answer should also be negative. So negative 9 plus negative 13 equals negative 22. Okay, let's take a look at the final problem for today. Alex earns 300 points every time he beats a level in his video game, but he loses 200 points every time he doesn't complete a level and has to restart. On his first attempt, Alex fails to complete level 1. On his next attempt, he is successful and he beats the level. He then tries level 2, but is unsuccessful. What is Alex's final score? Okay, so let's think about this for a second. The first thing that we need to do is we need to write an expression that's going to represent this situation. So I'm going to use the expression negative 200 plus 300 plus negative 200. The first negative 200 represents the time that he tried and was unsuccessful with level 1. The positive 300 is when he beat level 1. And then the second negative 200 is when he was unsuccessful with his attempt on level 2. Now, it's easiest and most effective if we break this down and look at it in pieces. So we'll start with negative 200 plus 300. We'll find their absolute values. And then because the original numbers had opposite signs, we need to subtract those absolute values. So we have 300 minus 200 equals 100. And because positive 300 had the greater absolute value, we'll keep the positive sign here, and we'll write our new simplified expression, which is 100 plus negative 200. And now we'll repeat the same process. We'll find the absolute values. And because, again, they had opposite signs at the start, we need to subtract. So 200 minus 100 is 100. Now keep in mind, this time, the greater absolute value came from the negative number. So that means we need to keep the negative sign. So the answer to our problem is that Alex's final score is negative 100 points. I think Alex might have to practice this game a little bit and go back and try again tomorrow. So feel free to rewind, pause this video, try the problems again as many times as you think is necessary until you really understand the process. Thanks again for joining me for this episode of Conquering Math, where it all adds up, and I'll see you next time.